Hi everyone. This video is going to look at the character of Anais in the Panopticon. She's obviously the main character in the play, and regardless of what you ended up, for example, looking at for like an essay or something later on, you're going to need to understand her. You're going to need to have quite extensive understanding and notes on Anais as a character. So we're going to just run through this here as per, not giving you, the answers for you to go and write down, but directing you towards the kind of things that we'd be looking for you to be able to discuss and ultimately write about and analyze. So, the first thing that we know about Annie is what you get right at the start of the play, the description, and it's very, very sparse. We get her age, wide eyes, brown hair, ponytail, cat eyeliner, and that's the lot, really. Is there much that you can discern from that? Well, mostly it's just sort of physical description, but the wide eyes might hint towards something if you consider the sort of character that Annie is, and if you consider what our motivations, what our goals are, then that wide eyes part seems like there might be something in there worth looking at. The cat eyeliner as well is potentially something to consider, but the wide eyes if you're going to look at that opening bit at all, maybe have a think about that. The main thing you want to do with Annie really is understand her relationships to different people or to different aspects of society. That's the main thing that's really going on with her, and that's it's sort of, I said before, in the class, is that what you really want to do with drama is understand conflict. So it's conflict and relationships, really. That's what drives drama. So what you can see if you go through the play is that Anais has history with and sort of relationships with and often conflict with different either organisations or people. The big ones you want to look at are her interactions or relationship with or opinion of the care system in which she has spent her entire life. The interactions with the police, who obviously, the police are representative of, society's ability to compel us to behave in certain ways. They are the sort of physical force arm of the state, essentially. So Anais' interactions with the police and the way that the police seem to view Anais are useful to understand the way in which people like her are treated, not just by the system or by the police, but by broader society. So you should really be looking for all the examples of interaction between, say, Anais and the police, and looking to have a set of notes on that you can mine if you need to for later on. There's obviously the story of Anais, or Anais' mother, which comes up, in which we get kind of increasing details of as the story goes through, and obviously she eventually finds out what we assume to be the real story. There's no way to be sure, but the role of that absence, say, of a mother, the fact that that's pushed her into, is what's pushed her into the care system. And if you look through the play, the way in which that absence sort of affects Annie in an ongoing way, in terms of how it alters, or affects her sense of self. Things like that are important. You can also look at the relationship with Teresa, who obviously was the person who adopted her and was then murdered. So you can look at the impact of the sort of lifestyle that Teresa had and maybe the care that was being offered to Annie. You can look at the impact of her death and understand all of that. And obviously, there's the relationship with Jay, which is explored pretty much all the way through the play, and in which we see sort of different dynamics going on. And there are things that you need to remember as you look through all that. You need to remember and sort of work certain things out. How old is Jay? How long's the relationship been? What does that kind of thing tell you? But the big thing, obviously, is that the relationship with Jay is what leads, ultimately, in the end, to the rape scene. So it's important that you can work your way through the play and understand or start to see the issues with that relationship as you are kind of working your way through your analysis of Anais. So it's a good way to do this might simply be to have separate notes on maybe those 5 things and maybe more than that, and just to get an idea of how we might analyse that sort of thing. So like, this is just the very, very start of the play. And this is how much you could get out of just that part there. You know, the kind of, it's often, you know, that you'll read something and it'll provoke certain kinds of questions. So that opening part there, are those the kind of memories you would associate with a typical child? What does the appearance lead us to in terms of the assumptions that we make? The things that she says, I'm an experiment, they watch me, that they're the very first things that we hear. What kind of impact does that have? You know, that we see her handcuffed. This thing about the birthday game, what is the birthday game and what does it tell us? Not just about Anais and her life and how she views herself, but also about her understanding of the impact that the events in her life have had on her, for example. So there's lots and lots of detail. You can, now I'm not expecting you to go through every page of the play, doing what you can see on the screen there, in that kind of massive detail, but it's just to give you an example that if you pick out the right bits from the play, you'll find lots and lots of stuff that you can think about and ultimately that you can then discuss when it comes to analysing. So character traits for Anais that are worth maybe keeping in mind, and again you could do individual notes on each of these if you wanted to, or group them together. Definitely, you know, fiercely intelligent but extremely vulnerable. She's very, very strong, but she's afraid and fragile. She's definitely self-destructive, but she seems to recognise the need to seek escape. And the big question to ask, you know, all the way through, we get this sense of dreams. There's a particular dream that Anais seems to have. What is it specifically? Try and be really, really sort of laser focused. What exactly is it that she is dreaming of? Because if you can nail that down, that'll tell you an awful lot about the character overall, and it'll help you to more fully develop your understanding of the play. Okay, so that's the stuff for Anais. Obviously, very, very brief, you know, about 6 or so minutes. Not intended to fill in answers for you, just giving you suggestions for the kind of things we might want to look at, so that when it comes to discussing Anais in class and then ultimately writing the essay, you've got lots and lots of material. And as usual, if you need a hand with anything, just give me a shout.